Hey everybody, welcome to our soft machine, the mental health about podcast and every day. I'm Andrew.
I am Andrew.
Uh,
I'm throwing my voice back and forth.
yeah, I think I chopped up the intro there a little bit. It's been a while.
It has. It's been quite a while.
Yeah.
Yes. What was the last episode we did? I think it was on treatment
It, mm,
or
I
something
think-
else mental health related.
it was related to mental health in the everyday. I remember that.
Or podcast.
Yeah.
Yes. So check it out and let us know, and hopefully we can it'll jog our memory.
Yeah.
You
tweet
find
us.
it on
Comment.
Podbean, Twitter, yes, but first iTunes and Stitcher and a bunch of other words. And actually, I think with this one we are not too far from being on Spotify. Finally,
Yay.
yeah, you'll be happy about that.
Milestones.
Yeah, but reach us always at Twitter. Our handle is what? Our Soft Machine.
Yes.
Yes, so that's how long we haven't done this. We don't even know what we are anymore.
Yeah.
We're having an identity crisis.
We're on Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, our soft machine show at gmail.com.
Yeah, see, half that stuff I didn't even know.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's been a while, largely thanks to me.
No, not at all. We've been doing our thing, and there were a couple episodes scheduled that didn't happen because I freaked out in front of a mic, even though I should not have. I should be used to doing this already. But it happened. Just to show you, anxiety does strike whenever, if ever, however.
Whoever. But mostly Andrew.
Yes, that is very much the case, and it's fine. It's still not, it's just shelved, the idea, and I think one day we're gonna revisit it. But for now, I think we're kind of going in kind of the opposite direction of that idea, which is gonna be social media, which is your idea.
That wasn't my idea. That
Yeah.
was, that's a bastard. It's a bastardization of my idea, yes. I wanted to talk about celebrity deaths because they're all the rage. But it did bring about the idea of social media and impact on mental health.
Well, the celebrity deaths part is kind of a small part of social media.
Yes.
So it might be best to start broad and narrow in.
Yes.
Yes.
So, Facebook.
Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, I think, are what, the top three?
Oh yeah, you can find us on Facebook as well. Actually,
I didn't know
yeah. So this is kind of funny. So we're going to talk about social media and the light we're going to put it in. Oh my, it's going to be really funny that we're telling you, reach out to us on all these social medias and
Also, here are the ways social media is bad for you.
yeah, that's kind of the theme of today's show. It's
Well, I think for the most part, yes. I think, though, there's going to be a few instances where we can at least say something positive about social media.
I think so as well.
Yeah, and again, these are not unfound results. They are definitely legit, but I think it's important to keep in mind your own personal use of social media. I mean, do you remember what Facebook is for?
Yes, it was for originally you could only use Facebook if you had like a workplace email or like an educator or education email for like a school for college campuses and things like that. I think he actually initially started it for like it was like Harvard Connect or something like that.
I don't remember. I just remember that as far back as I can remember, it was literally just a tool to connect with people. There weren't games on it. There weren't massive ads. There weren't communities on it. It was just so convenient enough to look someone up and just kind of learn about them. And it was semi-personal.
Yeah, I remember poking people.
Yep. And then they were like, stop.
Yeah, stop poking me. And then
And now people can't get enough of the pokes. But it was very simple before. It was just, I don't even think they had like buttons before. I don't remember they did.
I don't remember that either.
Yeah, emojis weren't a thing.
No, they weren't.
Cataloging your timelines weren't a thing. And I actually still do miss the old layout, like one of the first layouts from like 10 years ago, maybe.
Well, yeah. Now when I log on, it's like I'm trying to man an international space station.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and I think a lot of people don't realize that there are a bunch of other settings on there that you can manipulate to avoid seeing a lot of content, and that's not going to stop ads coming into your face, but maybe it'll stop that guy John from appearing in your timeline, who you don't like because he's on Tumblr for odd reasons.
Yeah, and instead you'll get more posts from William, who's posting those dank memes. What's up, deep fried stuff? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
All right.
I am not someone who uses social media a lot. I didn't grow up with it like everyone else, even though we are in the prime age for it, I guess you can say.
Well, you know what's okay. So what's interesting, if I could, and again, these are our completely biased, unfounded opinions on this show. That's what you come here for.
For bias.
Yeah. What I think I find is that there's kind of more of a shift towards anonymous social media. You know, like Reddit has really exploded. And Twitter handles aren't always linked to like real people, and you have these like huge Twitter handles that aren't necessarily connected to verified people. So.
And have you heard of those throwaway Instagram accounts?
Yes.
Yes, that are meant for people to just vent or something like that, or something or other, and
Yeah.
it's them, but it's not actually linked to them or something.
Yeah,
like that,
and so it's kind of interesting the way it's going. I would say, anecdotally speaking, the young people that come to my workplace, and when I say young people, I mean they're generally in the 18 to 22 range.
They're practically kids.
Well, I mean, I'm older. I'm in the 28 to 32 range, and they usually don't have a Facebook.
No?
No, yeah, that's. I think it might be something that like maybe like their parents do or something, or like older people do. But yeah, they usually don't have a Facebook. And then like if they do, it's kind of a formality. Like I'll say like, hey, I sent you a friend request. Because I know who they are and we've hung out a couple. It's not weird. Anyway, and they'll be like, oh, I'm really not on Facebook. I kind of forgot I had one. So it's really interesting seeing that. Maybe I'm just getting but I have a very small sample size, of course, and these are people that tend to like the outdoors.
That's what I was thinking, because your workplace does involve a very outdoorsy activity, and yeah, it's a different kind of community.
Public sex. That's my workplace.
Anyway, I have nothing for that.
Okay. Welcome back, people.
Yes. Okay. No, but I think there's something to that. Yeah. And definitely, it's a different kind of crowd, different population. If I were to go to, probably my old job, which was very office based.
Yeah.
I would see a lot more people trying to connect with social media.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn is weird still to me.
Yeah. It is very strange. But with Facebook, I mean, I think there's like tools like, if you've never run a business, and not that this is a business, but because of what we're trying to do because of what we're trying to do and what Andrew's trying to do with In Spite of Media, our page is a business page technically, and our Instagram is a business Instagram technically. And our YouTube videos they're not videos, but we upload these to YouTube. We get quite a lot of analytics. I see like what age ranges are coming, where they're coming from, if areas people are coming from. I see ethnicities. I see male. I see, female.
Jim on 3111 post.
It's not quite that, but the point is like, I mean, there's a lot of information I'm given. Now, of course, none of it is identifiable information. I don't see like who you are.
Don't worry, Jim.
Unless you like comment on it. But It's no, it's quite staggering. Like literally, if you ever done a business page or it's just a page on Facebook, if you ran one, I mean, you're treated to all these like charts and graphs, and yeah, it's
Yeah, if you look at our Podbean page, you'll see a bunch of those too.
yeah,
Probably not quite as in depth, but uh, I think that's just something to be said for the level of privacy
yeah,
that people are allotted,
absolutely.
and just kind of keep that in mind that um, it's not quite as private, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, I've had the
Not to
time.
say it's public either.
Well,
It's
yeah, but it's definitely not private. I mean, especially once you participate out there. I've definitely had an attempt to put me in a bad light to my superiors for some things I've said online. To be fair, I did tell that man that he should have died in the floods.
mm.
But you know, it's just banter.
So that's the other thing where I think social media plays a tool for businesses, yes, and organizations, but its role in culture still is not well defined enough.
Yeah.
So
So
more often than not, I think you see it as a tool for misuse or abuse.
well, let's shift gears here. So the goal of this show, and sometimes we have to remind ourselves that mid-show, the goal of this show is to kind of frame things within the bubble of mental health. And while it's very exciting, I think social media can, I mean, it has a lot of facets to it, you know, and there's so many things to discuss in terms of how you're being influenced, you know, what kind of information is out there on you in terms of privacy. But today, I think what we're here to talk about is how it tends to affect your mental health as a normal user, as someone who, as a consumer of that social media content, and somewhat as a participant. Um, but I think for a lot of us, I think we can say a lot of us are not content creators. Now, I mean, if you watch YouTube, you know hear that phrase way too much, and I don't mean that phrase in the sense of like creating content for profit or like as an identity. All I mean is like, for example, I post on my Instagram. I post pictures. I would say I'm a content creator in that way, in that I create content for this platform. It's as simple as that. Andrew doesn't really post pictures on his Instagram.
Well, I do, but for whatever reason, you can't see them.
What?
Yes, I have multiple pictures. I post a lot of my art.
Okay. Okay, well, we've just come upon a stunning revelation here. Give me a second here.
It's probably the most personal thing I use, and I mean I wouldn't even say it's art really. I just stuff I doodle and create or whatever.
Oh, I never sent you a request to follow you.
See, and the other side of it, some of us don't really even realize how we're using social media,
Okay, that's true. Okay,
which can inadvertently have a negative impact also when you don't realize that there are some certain caveats to things you can do,
yes.
and they may lead to some misunderstanding.
But in any case, I'm going to edit this whole portion out so
No,
that
you shouldn't.
my example still holds true. So Andrew, who doesn't really post a lot of content to Instagram, he you know he would be more of a content consumer, and that's I think how a big chunk of people do social media. And social media, I mean, it's such a blended concept at this point. Like I would say YouTube is sort of in social media territory, but
I would say it's absolutely social media.
yeah, so it's it's
I bet you can probably cite more YouTube personalities and individuals than you can channels. I bet. I know I can.
oh yeah,
Then, so I think in that regard, I would definitely say it's much more of a social media platform.
but in any case, looking at social media as a whole, I think a big part of it is a lot of people are consumers, and for the consumer, I think that's where we start seeing a lot of some of these negative effects. This is, I'm sure, not too shocking, but I mean, I'm holding like in my hand
Paper.
a paper, and I'm not going to read a whole bunch of it like I usually do. But
And in the science world, this is social media. It's a research paper.
that's actually, yeah, that's sort of true. Like you see little dots of like where it's been cited and stuff.
Peer
like,
reviewed.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So this was a study, Association of Facebook Use with Compromised Well-Being, a longitudinal study of Holly B. Shakya and Nicholas A. Christakis. And this was submitted February 2016 and accepted for publication in May of 2016. And basically what they did is they took three waves, 2013, 14, and 15, of different participants. And essentially, we sort of understand how face-to-face interactions can help or influence mental health.
By this point, more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah. Social media, internet, online identities are still relatively young.
Yeah, so, a study like this with, I think it was around a little bit over 5,000 participants, different waves of participants. It was very interesting. And that whole Facebook use with compromised well-being, I'm not sure if this is really going to surprise anyone, but generally the well-being is negative.
What?
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of these.
I don't like that.
a lot of these studies are borderline, like they're almost like borderline Facebook equals depression, and that's my study.
Yeah, and I mean, not. Yeah, a lot of this is kind of hating on Facebook, and it's not too much of a stretch to really maybe establish correlation with other social medias because of just how much they have in common with each other.
You're right. And at first, so what this is when you look into the studies, a lot of it is how the person uses social media and interacts with it as a consumer. And for example, in one of the studies that was focused on, so in one of these studies, the effects of active social media engagement with peers on body image in young women, which this one does acknowledge its flaws. Well, I say flaws, it's not flaws, it's limitations. And that it was a small sample size, about 140 women from a single college, possibly regionally specific, and also it's only women.
And actually, right before you go on, I just want to go ahead and point out that before anyone thinks this or mentions it, we understand that a lot of these studies, all of these papers use a population based on colleges, and that definitely skews data in itself. So it's not that we're not trying to say anything about it necessarily, but that's just what we have available to us.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you picked up at this point, if you pay attention to what we say about these things, but like usually one of the things we usually say is, oh, this was a population of college students.
Yeah.
Like it's very common. Anyway, so in this particular paper, a couple of things they found was like, yeah, okay, so how does it affect body image issues for young women? Generally, when they consumed social media, and it was specifically with young women, they found tend to consume social media in pictures, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat, with peers that were more attractive than themselves. Oftentimes, yeah, their body image took a dip. One thing that wasn't expected was that a lot of these women had a lower body image idea of themselves than the study had anticipated from the get-go. I'm sure there's a lot of implications in that.
Well, but, if I'm going to go ahead and imagine the self-reported data too, and that stuff is already not entirely reliable. So I wouldn't be surprised if even it was lower than they saw, to be honest.
Yeah, there was 143 female York University undergraduate students enrolled in a Introduction to Psychology course recruited through an online experiment management system for a study on social media and relationships. 18 participants were unable to adhere to experimental instructions and were excluded from analysis. leaving a final sample of 125. They
That's even
ranged in
smaller.
age. Huh? That's,
So
yeah,
even
it's even smaller. Ranged in age from 17 to 27, and body mass index from 15 to 42. This is really getting. I'm probably not going to list this part. Anyway.
No,
Anyway,
but the thing you said in there, though, that I think might catch a lot of people's attention and caught mine was the BMI.
the BMI, yes.
Yeah,
It
and
was actually a pretty large range.
yeah, well, I think when a lot of people think of social media, they don't think about BMI, but I mean, I definitely think more of people of color and background, ethnicity, all that come more into play, if anything. But the BMI, maybe not so much. But when you think about it, how much of social media is visual media?
I mean, that's literally Instagram.
Exactly.
Like, it's what it's based around.
Exactly. So you cannot exclude the body image. You cannot exclude the impact it's going to have on a person's health,
Yeah.
physical health. And yeah, the BMI is going to be an especially important factor.
Yeah. To wrap up this particular study, they found that with online social media engagements with peers that were more attractive than them, they had more body image issues. And when they had more interactions with like family members, the needle didn't go positive, but it stayed neutral. Again, we will let that speak for itself on the body image issues in our culture.
I mean,
for women.
I would say if you're stuck with family, you probably have a better support system than not.
Yeah,
And I do have to say, actually, with that in specific, there is still, I guess, I don't know, I haven't read up on it, but for a while that community online that tried to have thin acceptance or something like that, like
thin acceptance.
yeah, and like
Oh, you're talking about like Anna's.
yes,
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah,
Short for anagrams. No, anatomically skinny.
anorexics.
Anorexics. Yes. Yeah, you'd have like anaspiration or Anna inspiration or thinspo. That's what one
Maybe
was.
that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, but basically, it's just this entire community supporting the idea that it's okay to be this way. I find that especially frustrating because I was diagnosed with anorexia, albeit to my own. Like I am gonna say I was misdiagnosed, but I'm sure the records will have another thing saying about that. Anyway, that one really pisses me off, just because having gone through what I did with that was fucking awful.
Yeah.
And having come out to the other side, like, mine wasn't based as much on body image, which is why I say misdiagnosed, but there was definitely a huge impact of that. And to see a whole community thinking it's okay is very frustrating, to see this tool, social media, being used that way.
Yeah, well, I think it kind of exemplifies sort of the snowball effect of things kind of getting away from people in social media. I mean,
It's like I said, misuse or abuse.
yeah, it may have started as just like acceptance of where you are and the diagnosis of anorexia. And, if you found a community of people like that, then, it's like, okay, so there are other people like this that have the same affliction as I do, and they're working through the same things. And I feel like that could sort of, if you get enough of those people together, morph into, hey, we're kind of okay the way we are, And you start walking that fine line with like, hey, that's cool if a bunch of paraplegics got together and thought that.
How would they type though?
Paraplegics?
Oh.
They can still use their arms.
I'm thinking of quadriplegics.
Yes, you are. For the most part, but it would probably we would think it would be uncool if the paraplegics were like, hey, we're okay the way we are. Why can't all you assholes just accept it and get on board and break your legs? Not that no one doesn't want to be Let's okay. So for the sake of conversation,
I think I'm going to try out paraplegia for a while.
let's just exist in the vacuum where we assume that people don't want to be paraplegic. Not that they don't, not that we don't like you. As it's okay, I'm probably gonna edit this fucking clusterfuck of a explanation.
Leave it. You should leave it. It's a great example of the oddball use of social media.
Yeah, and man,
It's probably for the best you lost a train of thought there.
Yeah, probably. I'm not sure if I said anything offensive about paraplegia.
I'm sure we did.
If we did, please tweet at us, write an angry comment on our Facebook, interact with us in any way. We could really use those metrics. Get on that social media. Try to ignore the haters and the people doing well, which is something that you're really bad at. So we're going to segue into that now. So part of this, in it being image-based, now I'm sure this works for some people, but part of it being image-based is, I think the classic explanation of okay, so a lot of these studies, what they have found is emotions that social media tends to increase are emotions of like envy, of feeling inadequate.
Shame, even.
You're right, and a big part of, and the explanation is that a big part of why we feel this way is because we're seeing snippets of the best part of our lives. We're seeing like this highlight reel. People generally only post with like, got a new job, living life, I'm traveling, and what we didn't see was like the 6 months of saving up, seeing, eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, not going out, not eating out, in order to save up for this vacation, working extra hours, having late nights.
So it sounds like a kind of misrepresentation.
It does sound like a misrepresentation. And then, of course, there are those people out there that they really do, they are hashtag blessed, if you will. And, they have a well-paying job. They're not exactly pouring blood, sweat, and tears into it. Well, they are, but, they're at a point where they're making pretty comfortable money.
Coincidentally, we see that in that highlight reel.
Yeah.
And we will get that feeling of envy or something else. But then I feel like whenever we see posts of people who are genuinely, or maybe just using the media to express themselves, it doesn't get the same reaction. It gets more of a, oh, they're looking for attention, or it gets dismissed. It's hard to find like a decent middle ground here where everyone can win.
Right. And okay, so what some of you might be thinking, not that I presume to know what you're thinking, please tell us your thoughts.
Twitter or
email us. But what some of you might be thinking is, okay, so a bunch of eggheads got together and found out that I feel jealous when Samantha posts about her hot boyfriend and living in their big house and goes on a vacation for 2 weeks, like 3 times a year. Wow, you really had to figure that out and do a study about it? Well, the thing is, what these studies I think are revealing is not just the impact it has on the individual, but what this means for a society as a whole. Because we're almost all on social media. How many users does Facebook have? Like
more than are living sometimes.
The point is billions. How many people are on Earth? Billions as well. So it's like a huge swath of the population is on social media and consuming it in some way. And so, it could literally, if this is what it's causing on a micro scale, imagine what it's doing on a macro scale in shifting the way our population relates to one another and how these populations perceive one another. We're almost building a new culture here.
Yeah, it's definitely an internet culture, yeah. Yeah,
and in the age of the internet, this culture moves. It moves and it evolves fast. So that's why I think it's important that we look at this, we study it, we try to figure out.
And while yes, you may feel we don't need a bunch of guys to tell us that you're jealous of your friend's vacation, what's actually, I think, a more important takeaway of this is why is this becoming repeat behavior?
Yeah, exactly.
It's, if you were to tell me you went on a vacation, that's more incidental. Like I wasn't looking out for you and your life timeline for the vacation that I wish I took. No, you told me you took one. I was like, all right, fuck, I wish I'd taken one. But then what happens is like with social media, you can just actively continue searching for that. And what basically happens is you incite a law of attraction.
Thank you.
What?
I thought you said a lot. Moving on. So, yeah, no. And the thing is, again, we're trying to see what we're trying our best to get these sample sizes, and while admittedly they are not suitable for generalization, we can get some general ideas and results from small segments of population.
And that's something to work on from.
Yeah, because of I think a lot of people's conclusion is, well, I'll just stop using social media. Okay, well, I mean, that's one option, and I'm not going to say it's an unhealthy one. But like we saw in the other study, women who had social media engagements with family, generally, if not a net positive, had a net neutral. And I think overall, you're probably going to find neutral is fine, and keeping in touch with family, that's kind of, I think, how people are starting to use Facebook as they dwindle down friends lists and realize that they can kind of sort of, like snip this bonsai tree and shape it into something that makes them actually, if not happy, generally just
a good comparison.
Kept up and neutral. Mm-hmm. And again, neutral is not bad. Neutral is not moving the needle in a negative direction. But the other thing is you have to realize, I think a lot of people. So I'll put it to you this way: if you're listening to this and you're going to tell us, well, yeah, I figured that out a long time ago. I had negative emotions, and so I stopped looking at social media quite as much, and then I dwindled down my friends list. Congratulations, you have a lot of self-awareness. I think you will be surprised by how many of your fellow man do not share that same amount of self-awareness, which is part of why we do this, and we do these studies. Because
people don't realize they're doing repeat behaviors.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, we as humans,
or they overlook the impact social media has.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm totally guilty of it. This is a lot of this that we do is also based on a kind of lived experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Facebook was something for a long time I did use. Well, not a long time, but in the beginnings of Facebook, I guess you can say. And it was fine and all, and it was different from MySpace, but it was not so different in that I kept finding myself searching through people's lives, images or whatnot, and it felt okay, like acceptable, because, well, my rationale is why would they put it on there if they don't want people to do that?
Right.
But then it started becoming very unhealthy because I realized I was missing out, not just on what some of the stuff I thought I was missing out because of their lives, but I was missing out on actually getting to know this person. And I started to have these judgments or these preconceived notions of these people. And then on top of the whole, like, oh, they're doing this, I wish I was there or done that. So it was practicing judgment, it was practicing envy, and it was a huge waste of my time.
Yeah. Although on that thought, so when I say some people lack a certain amount of self-awareness, sometimes I have to take a step back and look at what I'm doing and try and understand my behavior and what's driving me and motivating me, to let out a part of my use of social media. On Facebook and on Instagram. On Facebook, I have this wide swath of friends. And from a really weird thing that I did back when Facebook was fairly new, I have thousands of friends on my friends list from a thing I did. Don't ask. And so I just have like a bunch of these strangers that I've just kind of seen throughout the years, and I've slowly dwindled it down as I've just lost interest and tried to undo the thing that I did. And some of these were fairly attractive women. Some of them I even like started conversations with. Sometimes it'd be initialized by them, sometimes me. And then also on Instagram, when I first started getting back on Instagram, I followed more attractive than average women, and it started to dawn on me that this was having an unhealthy effect on my relationship. I wasn't, it was clearly driving this sort of weird wedge in the way I viewed my own partner, my non co host. Um, because kind of the whole point of a monogamous relationship is part of your focus is on this person, and so if you're constantly skewing or updating your idea of beauty, I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but it just it gets in the way, and it affects things, whether it be intimacy, whether it be your perception of your partner, or even a something we're going to touch on in a second.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say even your perception of the gender you're attracted to.
I was going to say fear of missing out, but yeah, gender you're attracted to. That is true too.
Yeah.
But you start thinking, what else is out there, whether you intended to or not, and you think
Well, that kind of makes me wonder: is things like Instagram exposure, or is it incidental?
I don't expose myself on Instagram. Wait, what do you mean?
You're saying all these things that are out there, and like, I wonder if you can call Instagram a kind of exposure, like, like you recently went on a trip, right? You exposed yourself to a different country, different people.
He means like okay, yes, go
You
ahead.
traveled.
Yes.
Now, that's exposure.
Yes.
Now, I could do the same on Instagram without leaving my home. Is that exposure?
Oh, like you consumed what I did, and that is interesting. So, and don't worry, social media, for those of you that are on it a lot, you probably won't get the redemption you're looking for, but we will get around to some redeeming qualities of social media. And I think it can and it can't be, I mean, part of the driving force of me to go travel was seeing people who did travel, but I'm not going to lie. I mean, there's definitely interspersed moments of envy there. And when in my quest to get back into shape, for one of my coworkers, following a bunch of these like bodybuilders and things like that, now that she's at a healthy place with her body image and she's trying to aspire to that helps her, that motivates her. And I thought, I think I'll try that with myself. And I'm a fairly, not in shape, kind of overweight guy. And it did not help me. It made me feel worse. So I think, is it exposure? Is it good? Is it bad? Are you limiting yourself? It all depends on, again, kind of your self-awareness, the intent, and even what your intentions are, whether you're aware of them or not.
Mm-hmm.
Not intentions, but I don't know.
Or just consider your intentions, really. I think a lot of people don't.
Yeah, when you do get on the keyboard, when you do sign in, and definitely what makes it even more interesting. So Facebook, I think, is unique, and not necessarily unique, but well, yeah, it is unique in that your name is tied to it. Your identity is tied to it, as are your friends, people people you grew up with, people in your family, people in your social circles, and you're seeing their life when you're not around. So, this, I think, is part of what breeds that envy, that almost contempt, and that sort of making it personal. Like, why would they post this? They know what they're doing. And I think on the other side of that, you have this beauty and also this depth of humanity that is the anonymity of places like Reddit, where definitely I have been guilty of writing a comment or two that I've deleted after I thought about it. And it wasn't anything so visceral, but it was just, like participation discussion. Like when I was talking with Andrew, I think when I was discussing, I don't know if I talked about this last time, but when I was stopping drinking, I went literally to reddit.com/r/stop
I think you mentioned it. I can't. Yeah.
Yeah, and participation in that discussion, really helped out. I even wrote a post. But sometimes you get wrapped up in things, and you have to stop and think the intent, or what is my intent? Why am I doing this? So someone posts something like, I like flapjacks more than tacos, and you're just like, whoa, buddy, hold on a second. Let me tell you all the reasons why you're wrong, and here's a few articles linked to tacos, and here's some studies done on tacos, and like, what are you talking about? And then they're like, yeah, well, my brother ate a taco and he died, and flapjacks have never steered me wrong, man. So you're wrong, even though you got all these facts you just presented to me. And and then you just get into discussion, and eventually it just starts turning into, well, go away, flap fucker, and well, screw you, taco titmouse. I don't know. I'm not as good as at alliteration as Andrew is, but it's like, was that really a healthy conversation? And,
Taco taint.
and I think we've all gotten to a point, where it's like that familiar feeling of like someone posts something like, new poll shows candidate you dislike is rocking it and doing all the right things. And you start to have that feeling of, do I really want to engage? And it's kind of sad that we're at a point where we have to question if it's worth having a discussion. Don't get me wrong. I mean, like, definitely it's a question you should ask yourself.
I mean, personally, for me, I have written several comments and posted virtually none of them.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Just because I had to ask myself at the end of it, like, is this really worth whatever is going to come after it?
Yeah.
And really, like 99% of the time, no, it wasn't worth it. And it's just, again, I think about the level of control or power or sense of ego it gives people with having an anonymity. And I just don't want to be involved with that. Because you really don't know what's going to come out of the other end, and you don't know what's really happening on the other end.
Yeah, and I think what's kind of ironic is, here's what I'm trying to avoid. I'm not trying to say phones are bad, internet is bad, go out and play baseball and spank your children. That's
not to say those are wrong either.
I don't know why you would do both of those things at the same time. Hopefully not with the baseball.
They suck at baseball.
But because I don't want to get into that, because there's all these like popular videos, and like I think there's a rap of like Mr. Zuckerberg, you should it's called a social network. You should call it an anti-social network. Word. It was a long rap, and like it literally ended with that, and it's like, ugh, give me a break. But it is a bit ironic that we find that a lot of these these social networks can increase feelings of loneliness.
Yeah.
Which seems to be opposite of their implicit goal, or explicit goal, really. Their implicit goal is really to gather information on you and sell your data, and and advertise to you. But the explicit goal is obviously to bring communities together. So it is kind of funny, which is why we have to kind of take a look at these studies and take a look at human beings and wonder, okay, we have this thing that has the express stated goal of bringing people together, and it tends to bring out exactly the opposite emotion of why is that happening?
No, something's kind of fucky there.
Yeah.
And actually, you said ads that generate supposedly for things that you would like or might be interested in. It does that with content. Instagram is very much guilty of that. Whereas they will also literally have ads, but they'll have content that may or may not fuel some of those emotions just as much. For instance, just follow any attractive woman, and then next thing you know, you're going to be offered other profiles of attractive women, and then it just feeds into it.
Yeah, that's literally like some of the stuff. Like when I go to my Explore page on Instagram, which, by the way, it's no secret, the Explore page on Instagram is trash. But yeah, that's pretty much like what I get like presented with. That and videos of like pranks and stuff, even though I don't.
See, I had to retrain mine basically because I caught on to it eventually, and
Yeah.
I felt like it was so obvious, and I was like, why didn't I catch on to it? And I had to retrain mine. So basically, what I did is I went on a binge of like food and health
Yeah.
like posts and some comedians just stupid shit, and it worked. Honestly, like I will on occasion get a attractive woman or an ad, but it doesn't do it as often as it used to. Nowhere near as much.
Yeah. So, wait, what were you saying?
Instagram, ads, attraction,
Attraction.
generation, or generating.
Give me a second. It's probably be a shorter episode. Fuck. Sorry. So we took one of those little secret pauses you don't know about, and I forgot what I was talking about. But in any case, yeah, social media, it has these like little algorithms. Basically, is what we were talking about.
And we're back.
So yeah, I mean, exactly with these algorithms, like you're talking about having to train it like a pet. I mean, it's really, I have my own algorithm, if you will, but it's interesting because so my non-co-host, she has a Facebook, but she doesn't really participate on it a lot. And I'd get on her Facebook and I would be like, why do you have 132 notifications? What is going on? Like,
Oh, I've been there.
well, yeah, I've been there, but like I turned off, notify me when someone makes a comment on a picture, and all that stuff. And we looked through her settings and all of those things are off. Like it's like, oh, an acquaintance posted a picture and she's like, I have no setting that, and she knows how to treat those settings. She has no setting that indicates I want to know when this person, posts a picture. I pretty much only get updates when someone like comments on something that I commented on or something that I'm directly involved in. So when I was on Facebook like every day or every other day, I would get maybe like 2 or 3 notifications that I would open it up to. And so finally, I uninstalled the app on my phone, which drastically reduced my use. And what I started to notice was when I would log on, and it'd be like a week, I'd be like, oh yeah, I haven't checked my Facebook in a while. I would get a lot more notifications.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Naturally, yeah.
oh yeah, so-and-so, well, it would be stuff I never used to get before. So-and-so commented on this person's picture. I don't give a fuck. I never notified them that I wanted to know about that. I looked through all of my settings. There's no setting that indicates when someone else in fact, it's explicitly unchecked that I don't want to know about that. So it's fascinating.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time Facebook did something that you didn't want it to do.
Exactly. Well, yeah, of course, And then I start getting emails, and I'm like, okay, hold on a second, because I know I explicitly told them I don't want emails over mundane shit. And it's like, hey, have you checked out, non-co-host's sister's post? And I'm like, no, I will though when I'm on the app. And so I had to like turn off all emails because I was just like, why are you emailing me? You've never emailed me before. You don't email me. That's how I have Facebook set up. So, I mean, like, yeah, it starts kicking in and noticing like, hey, you've been gone. Come on back. You're getting extra points. You're getting notifications. You're getting that red badge. That little red icon that says you're important. There's a world happening.
A lot of mine will be that. Hey, you're missing out on this.
Yeah. So essentially, is going to events near you.
I don't fucking care.
Yeah, I know exactly. And so, what we found with studies with, I believe, gamers was that people love imaginary points, and likes. They're exactly that.
Well, humans are naturally the hoarding kind.
Yeah, and so, social media is addictive. It makes us constantly compare ourselves to each other. It's just downright bad. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, YouTube, oursoftmachine@gmail.com, and Twitter.
YouTube?
Did I mention that?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So okay.
Let us know your thoughts.
So, I'm feeling a bit rough. I feel like this one's a little bit more rambly. I wasn't quite as prepared, but
no, it's fine. I think it's okay. So yeah, I think we're bashing on social media a lot, but there are some good qualities to
that's
it.
what I want to get to.
Yeah.
And I'll start.
Okay.
actually had nothing to say. I just didn't want Andrew to talk.
Not like. Also, we need an unlike button just for the fuck of it.
You got the angry emoticon thing now.
No, it needs to be default. No, I for a while was wondering like, okay, social media is a part of culture, whether I like it or not. So what can I do with it that's gonna act like semi-proactive or semi-productive? For instance, like the podcast, this and my other, I use that as a way to reach out to people, and I use that as a way to explore. But one of my favorite ways of doing it, and I do think of these things as social media for sure, are YouTube and podcast. There are a couple of YouTubers, or whatever phrase they like to use now, I don't know, that I will explicitly go out of my way to go and enjoy, because I think for what they produce, the content is extremely relevant. And then there's the podcasts. There are several podcast storytellings that I enjoy, and those are very much, to me, social media. So, you okay?
Yeah, I was just putting my head down.
Oh.
Oh, by the way, if this sounds like all weird and stuff, we're recording at my place. We're trying it out. I don't know. Probably won't do it again. Who knows? Yeah, so for me, I started to think, well, there's got to be a positive way that social media can work in my life, and that's when I started dwindling down my friends list. I started making use of, I'll keep this person on my friends list because, they're whatever, but I just don't feel like seeing updates from them quite as often, or at all, really. I think they just say stupid stuff, but I want to interact with them every once in a while. But also just being willing to unfriend people, because some people, honestly, they're perfectly fine in person, but I don't want to know every stupid thought they have when they're on their own, or see all their pictures of their dog.
Well, actually, I probably wouldn't mind the dog so much.
Baby.
I would mind that much more.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's, dwindling down was part of it. Finding groups that were local actually allowed me to see events that were happening around town. There's podcasters that get together, bicycle groups that get together. Houston Bike Parts Exchange is really cool. And then Reddit is kind of the same way. I decided, I was always looking at it and kind of wasting time. And I thought, what's a more interesting way I could make Reddit kind of work for me? And so now my front page is filled with stuff like bicycling, casual conversation, stop drinking, frisbee, not frisbee. I really hate frisbee. Anyway, shows that I like, and I get on the internet and I talk, I participate, I talk with some strangers about, video games, movies, cycling, camping, things I'm interested in. And it's really cool. It's really fun. And sometimes I just kind of see what interesting articles they post and stuff. And
so it definitely sounds like a very proactive use of it.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I still visit the front page sometimes, and it's, a lot of, memes, GIFs, and Orange Man Bad articles. But for the most part, I just go back to my front page, and it's like, this is a nice little bubble I've created for myself, which is that's not always good. There is...
It's important to remember the intent behind it.
Yeah, but keep in mind, this is how things like Thinspiration get started. You start participating in these bubbles with very little outside influence sometimes. But that's what I think can be... It can really depend on the community, who they've attracted. Because, definitely in bicycling, you have mountain bikers, you have road bikers, you have people who think, I would never ride on the road a day in my life. You have people like me that are like, yeah, I ride on the road all the time, because I'm a road cyclist. You have people who ride strictly on paths, strictly on dirt. You have BMXers, you have different philosophies, people who work on their bikes, people who have no idea.
And then you have unicyclists.
It's called our bicycling. It strictly keeps unicyclers out. I'm sorry.
Get your own place. Get your own subreddit.
Okay. Look, get another wheel or get out. But the point is, there's a lot of backgrounds there, which I think is important in the community is if you want some sort of diversity. You can't just if you end up attracting a bunch of people that are of the same nationality, age, race, then you start getting into some weird stuff. Ask the Germans. But, when you get a lot of backgrounds together, but a common interest, that's when things can get really interesting. Ask a swingers party. Ask them. I'll wait.
And let us know how that goes on Twitter or
Instagram, Facebook, wherever you want. But that's the thing. I mean, there are community pages.
Yeah.
There are, like I follow, one of the hashtags I follow is Houston. I think it's like Houston Symphony in Europe when they went on their European tour, and that allowed me to see from a variety of the musicians who I pages I don't follow, all of their posts related to Houston Symphony as it did its European tour. So, that was really interesting. I don't know if you realize you can follow hashtags on Instagram.
I did not.
No. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the Tweeterverse, but, that's...
As far as I know, you can't, but then again, I don't really know that much.
Yeah.
And I kind of make it a point also to limit my knowledge in a way to things I don't... If I don't need to know it.
Right. And then, YouTube, I found recommendations and the trending page or garbage, and I started finding things I liked. So it's cooking stuff, it's news stuff, it's tech stuff,
and like the three little dots, you can select not interested in things like that.
Exactly. And
so more often than not, I think we're given some of these options, we just don't use them.
We don't interact with them. We don't upvote, we don't downvote, we don't say hide this or I don't want to see this.
So as easy as it might be to be angry at Facebook or YouTube or whatever other social media program, app, or whatever, they do to an extent give us the control.
They give us tools.
Yeah,
that is for certain. But the thing is, what you have to understand is, your intent and your relationship with social media, because I think that's kind of, at the end of the day, how it's going to affect your interaction. And I have definitely had those times where I got to hit the power button. I got to turn it off. I got to step away and just not interact for a while. And those times are good too. But, it's not a huge villain,
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah. Okay, so there is this really interesting article. And we'll end it there because I got to let Andrew go. But there's this really interesting article, report from the field, take 2 aspirin and tweet me in the morning, how Twitter, Facebook, and other social media are reshaping healthcare, by Carleen Hahn, published in March, April 2009, which I think was a little ahead of the game, but...
telemed.
This is a really interesting concept. So I guess the idea is using social media, with healthcare, and in this case, even mental health care. And you guys, I guess, at your place, you're kind of looking at this.
Yeah, we're not quite there, but we're looking into it.
Okay, so do you have some background or any idea?
Well, I have two versions. I have the professional and then the personal. So the personal one, I'm going to start with that.
Yeah.
I have a therapist who lives just outside of Houston. And driving out there, while it's a relaxing drive, it's a pain in the ass to do sometimes. And she offers a telemed service, basically. Like, we'll just basically do like Skype or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's our session. So she can do it at home in her office. I can do it in the car or whatever. So that's awesome and convenient. Now, professionally, where I'm working, we're trying to move to a telemed system where we have a similar concept, except people still come to their appointments, and the one that isn't there is the doctor for some reason. So
that does confuse me.
So it's not so convenient in that the client, the individual, can just do it whenever, wherever. No, it's still, I think, a work in progress for them. I'm not really sure what they're expecting. It's a step in the right direction, though. I mean, there's no denying that technology needs to be more integrated I mean, it's already integrated into physical health. Clinics like Kelsey-Seybold, they have like apps that will allow you to see all your charts and interact with doctors directly. That's amazing. Mental health quite is not there yet, and it's a different reasoning, but it's still a benefit that I think is worthwhile.
Yeah. And I think there are there's the idea of social media and health. I think the idea is like, what do you know about your doctor, and how is that doctor patient interaction going, in terms of like giving them a quick snippet or update or question, as opposed to something longer like a telemed session. And I think honestly, like, I'm not sure that, like, my non-co-host, she does phone over the phone. You do over Skype, as my co-host. And, those make sense to me. I hardly see that as social media. It's definitely, technology. But this article, what it is discussing is like this app. It's like an app called Hello Health. And so you kind of get like a profile page of like your caregiver, doctor, whatever. And, part of it that I wonder about is, what is the usefulness of knowing your doctor's, interests and likes. And the other thing is, like, having all of this in a system that's, I guess, I would worry, I guess, about privacy concerns, obviously, depending on how they handle that.
I mean, I imagine they got to say what goes in that profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the only reason I can really see that working so well is because it could help build good rapport with people.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is I wasn't discussing this at all, but I had a physician come into my shop recently, and excuse me. So I had a physician come in recently, and like really recently, and we talked about something relating to this. It was actually kind of just by coincidence. And so in this article, one of the things they talk about, like, with legal issues, others, including some physicians, worry that internet-based communication can never adequately substitute the in-person exam, and point out that standards have not yet been developed to govern this type of quote-unquote care. And that was something that he talked about, was like, now it's like you want to get a doctor's visit, and at one of the offices that he worked at, it's like, you don't call the doctor's office. You, like, fill out an online form, put in what's wrong with you, and then you have this, like, submission, you get your appointment, and then you go in. And so the doctor already has sort of this, like, idea of what's going on with you. But it's on the onus of the doctor how they treat that information, and, his concern is, like, are they asking any more questions beyond that? And part of the issue of, like, well, this is what's wrong with me, is it doesn't lend itself to the leading questions that a doctor will often ask. And what if that doctor just takes what you're telling them at face value?
Yeah. So
that is one of the concerns raised in the article, and that was raised by this particular physician that came into my shop.
And that's with physical health for me, and I think of mental health. There are some things that are definitely lost in telecommunication. Body language is a huge tool for therapists, mental health practitioners, and you lose that a lot sometimes. And
if you don't, I mean, it's just time consuming and annoying to constantly describe your body language to somebody.
Folding my legs now, I'm twitching. And actually, no, seriously though, there are some things that you can pick up on just
by an expression, the way somebody tells you something,
the way someone hides a sleeve or pulls on a sleeve to hide something.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen that multiple times, and if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have known that the person had so many cuts on their arm that were self-inflicted, and they've self-reported. And but no, it's a lot of things that you can't pick up on still through telecommunication. It's a work in progress. It's definitely something that I see work best in very stable populations.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
But it's not that it's a bad idea. It's just that it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
So
In any case, the lights in my apartment just turned off automatically.
that's the cue.
That is the cue. It is. That's it's late.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
That is my indication of like my visual indicate. I put that timer up, so it's like, Sebastian, get off the TV, stop hanging around in here, go to the bedroom, start relaxing. Thank you for joining us. I don't remember how we usually end these things, but we're on Twitter, we're on Factbook, we're on Reddit, we're on YouTubes,
Instagram.
yeah, Instapounds. That would have been funnier. Our Soft Machine at gmail.com, or our Soft Machine Show at gmail.com.
And just about any other
Do not
podcast
email
app.
our Soft Machine at gmail.com. I don't know who that is. They already took it, but don't email them.
Or do it and then just let us know who it is.
No, do not do it. We will not have instigating harassment on our hands. I might just take that out. Anyway, no, seriously, give us your thoughts. I mean, this was an episode on social media, something that we all have kind of an idea with. This is our first episode that isn't so abstract. Still kind of is, but
yeah,
maybe it's something you do have a strong opinion on. So jump on that social media, talk with us. Email us if you want. If you want to do it the old-fashioned way, my physical address. No, Andrew's
123 Fake Street.
Yeah. But no, in all seriousness,
you might get lucky if you engage him socially enough on social media. Maybe he'll give you his address. So.
If that entices our listeners to engage with us, yes, that maybe I'll do a raffle.
Maybe we'll get a P.O. box. I
don't know. Maybe.
All right.
It'd be kind of cool. Our unboxing's really that interesting on podcast. Anyway, the point is, this is the end of the show. Thank you for listening, and as always, I'm Sebastian.
I am Sebastian.
I'm just gonna wait for you to correct yourself.
Like you did in the beginning?
Oh, no, I didn't. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
I was looking for more of a balancing.
Yeah.
2 Andrews in the beginning, 2
Gotcha.
Sebastians at the end.
Signing off.
All right, guys. Be well, and remember to always take care of yourself. Bye, everyone.